Tesla is considering a bid for battery metals miner Signa Lithium. A source told me earlier it's just one name that Tesla's looking at. So clearly, Tesla's looking at supply chain, right?
Tesla last year reduced its prices in China twice. BYD increased its prices. We're direct competitors. I mean, BYD is so much ahead of Tesla in China.
In this video, legendary investor Charlie Munger has finally lost his mind. Some juicy Tesla rumours swirl. Stunning new data shows Tesla is absolutely slaughtering the so-called competition. Plus, some shocking numbers out of Europe show EV adoption is happening faster than anyone, including myself, predicted. And for the nerds, we take a look at some beautiful data showing EV adoption surging globally. And a heads up, latest exclusive Patreon Q&A has just gone live, and boy oh boy is it a spicy one. I share my latest thoughts on Andrew Tate, PS, free top G, the apparent surge in train derailments and toxic explosions, a few candid thoughts on Ross Gerber's push to force his way onto Tesla's board of directors, religion, and plenty of other very uncontroversial subjects that will most definitely not cause you to get butthurt and me to get cancelled. If you're a member on Patreon, you know where to find it, and if not, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. Legendary investor Charlie Munger has some thoughts about Tesla and BYD.
He's curious why Mr. Munger prefers an investment in BYD to Tesla.
Well, that's easy. Tesla last year reduced its prices in China twice. BYD increased its prices. We're direct competitors. I mean, BYD is so much ahead of Tesla in China, it's almost ridiculous. And if you look at BYD, which most people have never heard of, if you count all the manufacturing space they have in China to make cars, it would amount to a big percentage of all the land in Manhattan Island. And nobody ever heard of them a few years ago.
So, I have some thoughts. It's impressive how coherent Charlie Munger is for a 99-year-old human being. I'm not sure his reasoning really stacks up. For one, Munger is talking about BYD selling more vehicles in China than Tesla did. Why is he not talking about BYD selling more vehicles globally, on Earth than Tesla? Reason? Because they didn't. China is a market, but it's not the global market. For the record, in 2022, BYD sold 911,140 pure electric vehicles globally, basically exclusively in China. Tesla was at 1.3 million, more than 30% higher. BYD clearly number 2 in terms of electric vehicle sales globally. It's a massive gap. More importantly, however, profitability. Munger seemed to be rather excited that BYD had produced approximately a $2 billion profit selling all of those vehicles. Not just all of those vehicles, but also the plug-in hybrid vehicles as well. Vehicles no consumers will be purchasing within a few years. Bear with me here, folks. Let's reason through this. What was Tesla's profit last year in 2022? Just to be clear, in 2022, BYD sold 1.863 million vehicles total, significantly more than Tesla. Remember though, many of these not pure electric vehicles. So BYD had sales of approximately 42% more vehicles last year than Tesla. 42% more. And they made $2 billion in profit. So I just keep forgetting, how much profit did Tesla make in 2022? Oh, you know what? I think it was about $2 billion per quarter on 40% less vehicles sold. Charlie, my man, I think the dude is actually starting to suffer from cognitive decline. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Tesla literally in 2022 made 6 times as much profit as BYD, who sold 42% more vehicles to generate that fraction of Tesla's profit. If you normalize this, Tesla is making about 8 times more profit per vehicle sold than BYD is. Not 8%. 8 times. At this point, I just honestly do not know what planet Charlie Munger is on. The guy has proven to be an incredible value investor, but bro, I think it's safe to say that Munger is well past his prime. I don't blame the guy. Like I said, he's 99 years old. Boy oh boy, is he missing a trick with Tesla. Now a few short comments from a Wall Street analyst regarding Tesla and some new rumours.
Elon Musk gave this interview in June of 2022, where he basically described the overwhelming focus for Tesla being to crack full self-driving. And he said it's essential because really the difference between Tesla being worth a lot of money and being worth zero is their success on FSD beta. Do you model that into your price targets? Do you agree with kind of that thesis on how Tesla should be valued?
Just for the record, because often people are confused about Elon Musk saying things because you need to think about the things and the implications, and I get it. Just for the record, the reason Elon says that if there's no FSD, no autonomy, Tesla is essentially worthless is because if you, as a company producing vehicles, do not in the future have software that allows them to autonomously drive themselves, you're out of fucking business. That was Elon's point. This wasn't a comment about Tesla. This was a comment about automotive manufacturers. No autonomy, no longer in business. This is why I continue to expect over the longer term, once Tesla has solved autonomy, many other automotive manufacturers will begin to license the software. Otherwise, they're literally going bankrupt.
Not really. I mean, I think he's kind of already walked back some of those targets, right? It's become very clear across the board, I mean, across all the different autonomous startups, that to get to full autonomy is very challenging. Full self-driving is, as now indicated, is not full self-driving level 4, level 5. It's going to be an advanced level 2 ADAS type system, at least at this point. So I don't see, for most of the experts that I talk to on autonomy, the strategy seems like it's going to take a very long time if it's at ever all possible, particularly without LiDAR. So I actually don't put a high probability of anything near term on true full self-driving the way people are thinking about. Could that massively change the valuation? Absolutely, if they could deliver it. I just don't think the technology's there yet.
As you heard at the top of the show, Tesla is considering a bid for battery metals miner Signa Lithium. A source told me earlier it's just one name that Tesla's looking at. So clearly, Tesla's looking at supply chain, right, on the battery side. On March the 1st, we will get Masterplan Part 3, which, a part of, we understand, will be how to scale beyond Tesla's current level. What are your expectations for what we'll learn from Elon Musk and co?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what's happening with Tesla, right? I mean, we've had, it seems like there were clear signs that demand was softening. We've had this massive price cut that spurred the demand. The question comes is, how long does that price cut keep demand going? And so you actually need to kind of start to get line of sight to what's the next driver. And so I think at the Investor Day, the key event is going to be focused around, understanding, what I think they've talked about is their sort of Gen 3 model. I'm guessing, and I think most people are guessing, that's going to be a lower price model that will actually give them coverage for the vast majority of the price points in the auto segment if you get it to 30,000 or below. And that obviously widens the TAM and the addressable market and could get people excited if you could do that economically. And I think that's what people are expecting, right, is, a discussion of cheaper price model with strong economics behind it.
Colin, I know it's a Friday night. I know that maybe Elon Musk, Tesla is not how you want to end your day, but you talked about the regulatory risk being a damage to credibility. What are the other risks Tesla's facing right now, real quick?
I mean, expectations are high after the recent run. I think we have to see what happens April 1st when, the full IRA credits come in. The 7,500 may go down. We'll see if demand is impacted there. Yes. I think there's high expectations into the Investor Day. And yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to be longer term for you're seeing some sort of regulatory action that might be more aggressive than what we saw yesterday, but still remains a long-term risk that investors shouldn't forget about. I mean, maybe it'll all blow over, but it's still something to consider.
And while we're on the subject of things Tesla stock investors should definitely consider, we're over on the Clean Technica website. Open the gates, 25% battery electric vehicle share in Europe. Plug-in car market, which includes the fake electric vehicles, also known as hybrids, which are internal combustion engine vehicles with a little battery in them, in Europe as EV sales jump through the roof. Even while the overall automotive market continued falling, in 2022 it was down 4% compared to 2021. Europe's passenger plug-in electric car market had a historic month in December with 413,500 registrations, which is a 46% increase over the previous month. Just making sure everyone is following along at home. Literally 1/4 of all new vehicles sold in Europe in December were fully electric. For context, for the entirety of 2022, not just the month of December, fully battery electric vehicles making up 14% of the market. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. For the full year, we're at 14%, yet December alone at 25%. This is what we call exponential growth. I'm not making a future prediction here, but just imagine, hypothetically, if January 2023 sees a similar amount, around 25%, what do you think December 2023 is going to look like? Odds are it's going to be significantly above 25%. And remember, Tesla is currently ramping up production of their Berlin factory, which at this point in time, barely a drop in the bucket. By the end of this year, it will have ramped to reasonable volume. One more time, 25% of the entire new vehicle market in Europe in December 2022 was electric. A quarter. You need to double that twice and it's 100%. The article continues. In December, the battery electric vehicle market had a record month, up 51% year over year. There's that 50% figure once again. The temporary blip, the idea that's long since had its time that no longer makes sense, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, aka an internal combustion engine vehicle with a tiny battery, is literally one of the dumbest ideas on earth. There was a time when it made sense, and that was before fully electric vehicles were economically viable. But they are now. Plug-in hybrids are going away. In Europe, in 2020 and 2021, the plug-ins represented 46% of the, quote, electric vehicle market. Yet 2022, that number declined from 46% share to 39% share. It's going to go off a cliff, just like ICE vehicle sales. Watch this space. And now, you'll love to see it. The top-selling electric vehicles in Europe in December. Again, want to point out that this is before Tesla's Berlin factory has fully ramped up. The only vehicle it's producing initially, Tesla's Model Y. So in December alone in Europe, Tesla's Model Y sold over 32,000 vehicles. Far and away, the number one selling electric vehicle in Europe. Number two, who would have thought? Tesla's Model 3, just over 20,000. VW's ID4 and ID3 taking up place number 3 and 4. But note the difference. Tesla's Model Y alone selling nearly 3 times as many units as VW's best-selling electric vehicle. Keeping in mind, VW has a little bit of a home team advantage in Europe. A lot of consumers will trust the VW brand. Dieselgate, hey, whatever, let's ignore that. Forget it's a long time ago, everything's fine. And I think this is giving VW a bit of an unfair advantage in the short term. Now, I'm not saying that consumers shouldn't be buying these products. It's just there's a lot of people, VW's finally got an electric vehicle, I'm going to buy that because I'm a VW person. Even so, Tesla, the foreign competitor, absolutely crushing the star player on the home team, on their home ground. Kind of embarrassing. In fact, if you take Tesla's Model Y sales alone, a little over 30,000, it's about as many units as the number 3, 4, and 5 place combined. However, number 5 here, the darker blue, that's actually a plug-in hybrid, so scratch that. Number 6, so number 3, 4, and 6, about the same number of units as Model Y alone. This does not paint a pretty picture for Tesla's so-called competition. Again, the Berlin factory is still currently ramping up. This is before Berlin has fully ramped. Just saying. And now, let's look at annual sales in Europe for the full year in 2022. Top-selling electric vehicles. Surprise, Tesla's Model Y taking out the number 1 spot. With almost 140,000 units sold, Model 3 over 90,000. Combined, around 230,000 units, just the Model 3 and Y combined. Number 3, VW's ID4, just under 69,000. The Berlin factory has not yet fully ramped, and the only vehicle it's producing initially is the Model Y, which is already the number 1 selling vehicle in Europe throughout 2022 and also in December. What are the odds? Spoiler alert, 100%, that Tesla's Model Y will be the best selling vehicle in Europe in 2023 by a significant margin. Speaks volumes. Visually, pretty clear winner here. And now we're going to nerd it out a little bit, looking at some great data posted by JPR007 over on Twitter. First, battery electric vehicle sales. We're looking at annual cumulative sales by region. Asia in red, Europe in green, North America in blue, and the rest of the world, which you can barely see, in grey. As we can see here, Asia being driven primarily by China, really leading the charge. I wasn't trying to be funny there, by the way. They are actually leading the charge. Interestingly, maintaining approximately 60% share of global EV sales, despite the actual number of vehicles being sold increasing dramatically year over year. As a percentage of global EV sales, China's still maintaining approximately that 60% range. Obviously, there is a little bit of variation. Europe managing around, if you're lucky, a 20% slice, occasionally more, sometimes a little less. North America, 10 to 15%, and the rest of the world, a literal fucking speck. I do have a question. What might happen when Tesla has ramped production to volume on its North American Austin factory and its European Berlin factory? I definitely think it's possible we'll see a marginal increase in the percentage of overall EV sales accounted for by Europe and the United States in the next couple of years, almost as a direct result of Tesla's new factories. Now, I'm not dumb enough to think there's no other automotive manufacturers ramping up production elsewhere, but I do have a suspicion that Tesla will probably be able to more efficiently ramp their production volume than any other company. Is it any wonder why Tesla built their Shanghai factory when they did? Tesla was fully aware China was really leading the charge. And now we're looking at battery electric vehicle sales, annual cumulative sales by region. This makes things a lot easier to see visually. If you're a little bit confused here, these are how many electric vehicles were sold in month 1 of the year, then cumulatively the next month, and the next and the next and the next. So the final bar here on each year is cumulative sales for the entire year, and then we're seeing progress to that final point. Absolutely dominated by Asia here in red every year. I noticed there's an increasing steepness to the curve in each subsequent year. It almost appears that the rate of EV adoption is accelerating exponentially. By the way, when I say it almost appears like, I mean it actually is. Beautiful, extremely steep exponential growth. I just want to take a moment because the so-called experts continue to dramatically underestimate how quickly EV adoption is taking place. In 2018, global EV sales a little over 1 million. In 2022, approaching 8 million. In fact, since beginning this channel in late 2019, when well under 2 million electric vehicles were sold globally in a single year, until present, EV sales have almost doubled. Twice. 2019, less than 2 million. 2022, almost 8 million. I don't think legacy automotive manufacturers have got the memo, but this exponential growth, imagine hypothetically, if we replicate another 5 years of data onto this chart, what will the numbers look like? Is it possible in the next 4 years we could see another 2 doublings of EV sales? Going back to the earlier data regarding Europe, 25% of all new vehicles sold in December are electric. Double that twice, it's 100% market share. Can you guys read between the lines here? It's 2023, 24, 25, 26, 27, give or take. Once again, this is why I continue to point out legacy automotive manufacturers are going bankrupt. The experts have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. People are going to be absolutely astonished how quickly EVs go from a little over 10% market share to around 100% market share. EV adoption is happening even faster than I assumed. For real though, to illustrate my point, as I've mentioned previously, I privately model out EV adoption globally. I have a base case and an extreme bull case. Even in my ridiculous hyper bull case adoption for EVs, as I record this, I have EVs at 21.53% global market share in 2023. In December, Europe was already ahead of this, and this is my hyper bull case. Now, if we just look at global EV sales cumulative, not broken down by region, again, the trend is very clear. Back in 2018, you'd be hard pressed to find a single person outside of maybe Rethink X, shout out to Tony Sieber and co, and maybe the folks over at ARK Invest. Back in 2018, who would have said that EV sales in 2022 would be close to 8 million units. Yet here we fucking are. And the same will be true of today. Very few experts are even close to these numbers. It was just a couple of months ago. It was just a few months ago that research was published regarding Tesla. So embarrassing, I'm not even going to name the mob that put it out. Who suggested that maybe more than 20% of new vehicles sold in the United States in 2030 would be fully electric. Such predictions will not age well. Back to my EV adoption estimates. In my hyper bull case, which I don't expect to happen, I'm just thinking, what is the most extreme? Let me just go there. It's more of a thought exercise than a prediction. I have 86.81% of all new vehicles sold in 2027 being fully electric. Now, I think this is absurdly aggressive. It's still possible, that's why I model it. And remember, I've already been underestimating EV adoption myself, so keep that in mind. But even my base case, 2027, I've got 65.91% of all new vehicles sold being fully electric. And in 2028, 72.5%. My best guess is somewhere between 70 to 80% of new vehicles sold in 2027 will be fully electric. And I think you'll be hard pressed to find a single person on Earth outside of ARK Invest or Rethink X who would agree with me. Of course, what would I know? I'm just some idiot on the internet. And lastly, a bit of data on Europe specifically. We're seeing a very similar trend here. EVs, 2018, full year, just over 250,000 sold. Fast forward to 2022, approaching 2 million sold. And now a breakdown of monthly sales of electric vehicles in Europe, the cyclical and seasonal nature of the new vehicle market. Let's zoom in a little bit and I'll explain. I just want to point something out. We have a big towering spike here, the final month of 2022. If we go back a year, the final month of 2021 also towering over every other month. And what do you know? Final month of 2020 also towering over every other month surrounding it. Overall, the trend clearly up. But as we can see here, it's typical for December to be a huge month for EV sales for whatever reason. Expect some news in January of collapsing electric vehicle sales in Europe based on the month-over-month figures. So expect to hear of collapsing EV sales in Europe when the month-over-month data comes in because, as we see here, there is a pretty clear trend. This doesn't mean EV adoption is slowing down, but I'm sure the bears will say so. Just flagging that now for when it happens. And now it's time for a very quick trip down memory lane. Now, if you're new around here, you probably haven't seen this. After all, this video is almost 2 years old, posted on June 23rd, 2021. Now, why am I showing you this clip from Patreon almost 2 years ago in a private video that wasn't available on YouTube to my audience? That's a good question. I'm sure it will answer itself in just a few moments. Let me know in the comments below if you can figure out why I'm playing this clip. Over to you, Past Stephen. With that said, my current supplement stack that I'm taking in the morning, oh, by the way, this is the biggest game changer of my life. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this. Seriously, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is in terms of boosting energy. Part of that's to do with rhodiola, but it's a game changer. It's got so many different vitamins and minerals and things that your body really needs or feels better on. I'm no longer having, a lack of energy in the afternoons. Long story short, it's fucking amazing. In addition to that, however, but if there's only one thing to recommend seriously, try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So, you figured out why I played that clip yet? Credibility. I know there's a lot of skeptics who watch this channel, a lot of people with severe, crippling and debilitating trust issues. So when some guy who mostly makes videos about Tesla, but also isn't a fat motherfucker, begins banging the drum telling you guys and girls that he's taking this thing every day, Athletic Greens AG1, it's that fucking good, he swears by it. Killed his afternoon fatigue, feeling and performing his best. He's just saying that because they're paying him. And no doubt there are some creators out there who would do exactly that. I ain't one of them. It is worth pondering. When asked about my supplements, health habits and routines, almost 2 years ago, on a private Patreon Q&A, what would I say? If there's only one thing I could recommend, it would be Athletic Greens AG1. Is it possible the reason I said that is because it's true? Almost 2 years after posting this video, I'm still taking this stuff every day, and hey, I could be imagining things, but has anyone noticed the difference? This video was just a few months after I'd begun taking Athletic Greens AG1 every day, already feeling the effects. Here we are almost 2 years later. I'm more healthy, more vital, and it's not just because of Athletic Greens AG1. However, like I said, literally the biggest hack in my health toolkit by far. Don't take my word for it, take his word for it. The guy who almost 2 years ago was just recommending this stuff because it's that fucking good. I really am just trying to help, after all. I know the impact Athletic Greens AG1 has had on me personally. Today's the day, it's finally time. Take Athletic Greens AG1 up on their offer, 1 free year supply of vitamin D3 and K2. There's a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't feel and perform better, nothing to lose. Just to recap, you can fill in nutritional gaps. There are 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, adaptogens, prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes. Promotes gut health, which, as I've said, can massively affect energy and mood, supports immunity, boosts energy, and loads more. And I do speak from personal experience. So did the guy almost 2 years ago privately on Patreon. One of the first things he said, my afternoon fatigue is gone. And I'm hearing feedback from many others who've taken AG1 up on this offer by heading to athleticgreens.com/SMR, who have also experienced a similar lack of afternoon fatigue. At this point, I don't think there's any excuses left. It's time to try Athletic Greens AG1. Use the link in the pinned comment or head to athleticgreens.com/SMR, and please let me know in a few weeks how you're feeling. P.S. Your moves, skeptics. And don't forget, I posted a super spicy Patreon exclusive Q&A video today discussing the latest on Andrew Tate, some thoughts on religion, some rather bizarre coincidences with train derailments and other such things. Make sure you bring your tinfoil hat. Ross Gerber's intent to force his way onto Tesla's board, my current daily routine, and loads more. If you're not a member of Patreon, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.